my house is burning, my family is missing. How does the person perform on the field? If 15, 16-year-old players being paid 20,000 rupees or whatever to allow a goal in, the goalie is paid or the defender is paid. And that's because there is not enough money being made in the game. So you're tampering not just with the sport, but with the philosophy of sport, that you don't even want, the player is not even trying to win. So it's the administration and the people who are running the sport who really need to, they should be taking the blame for this because they are at the end, it's their responsibility. Men also face a lot of challenges because our football ecosystem is really so corrupt and terrible. But women face all that and more, so because of the genders. But there was nobody holding a camera and filming everything that we were doing to record it for posterity. You can step out of your comfort zone and still manage to get it right after putting in the right effort.
Hi, Mallika, and welcome once again to the About Her Show. You've been here, you know what we are all about in terms of showcasing trailblazing women, their talents, and their achievements, along with the men who champion such women. Now, as I said, you've been here, so there's nothing much that I want to say other than the fact that I'm completely fascinated by the kind of work that you're doing. From your background to the kind of books that you're writing. Of course, we'll be chatting about one of them today. And the kind of books, and then, of course, your love for the environment, the trees, your YouTube channel. So, a very, very multifaceted personality, as I can see, and extremely inspirational too. You're not letting one identity or one thing that you're doing hold you back. You are doing whatever you think or care strongly about. And that, I think, is something a lot of people can learn from. So, welcome once again to the About Her Show.
Thank you, Sangeeta, so much. Thank you so much for having me and having me again. Within the span of a year or so, because I was here, like you said, last year, and it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to chat with you. Having a free-flowing conversation like this is, always great. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, let's get started.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
like I said, it's wonderful to have you back. But since the time that we last spoke, what has surprised you most about the writer you have become in this intervening period?
Yeah, so we last, like I mentioned, spoke about a year ago, a book that I had written about history and Kashmir, and it was a very different book. And today we're here talking about football and sporty topic. So yes, this one, especially the book that we're talking about, the State League, which is a football-based book. I think that's the fastest book I have written
Okay.
because by the time, when I pitched the book to my publisher, I met her at a lit fest and I pitched it to her, and then she said, I like the idea. So this is a sequel to another book that had come before during the 2022 FIFA World Cup. That book was called the District Cup, and the book did well. And I happened to meet the publisher at an event sometime late last year, and I said, I was just wondering, would you be interested in a sequel to the book? And she said yes immediately. I was still warming up to the idea, and then we realized that the FIFA World Cup is in June 2026, and we didn't have much time. And I said, if we're going to do it, this is the right time to have the book out, but we have so little time. And she said, we'll support you in every way we can with our editorial team and design team and all that to get it out by the deadline if you can manage. So I had the ideas, but they were still not completely formed in my head. They were vague ideas. So the research, talking to people, getting all the material, then writing it, editing it, re-editing it, putting it all together. So that's why we were hoping to have the book actually before the World Cup began, but we're having it now just before the end of the World Cup because it was really done at breakneck speed. But yeah, that is what has surprised me, to answer your question, that I never thought I'd be able to from conceptualization to completion in about 6, 7 months
Yeah.
is very fast for me, because another book I wrote 565, it took me 5 years. I'm generally a very slow writer. So
Mhm.
that is, I think, what has surprised me most about, that it is possible to work with a very tight deadline and do a satisfying job.
Actually, that is right. A lot of times we assume things about ourselves and about circumstances and about situations, but we don't realize that when we really have to do something, we can do it and we will do it. It's just that I think we haven't tried, so we think, oh, that's not possible. But I think one should always give oneself a chance, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And when pressed against the wall, sometimes, your best comes out because of
Yes,
the challenges. So it's, yeah.
absolutely. So moving to the book. Now, the book is called The State League. Now, that
Yes.
moves into the murky world of Indian football. So, what drew you to that story and to that world?
Right. So I have two sons, both of whom play football, and they play very actively, not just for fun. They started off playing for fun, of course, when they were kids, but they are now teenagers and they play very intensely, actively, and they're keen on pursuing it seriously as a career. So the world of football was completely, alien to me till they got into football. So I watched very few football games all my life. I would watch a lot of cricket, of course, because being in India, people at home are watching cricket. Your friends are talking about it. So football was absolutely nothing, had no connection with me at all. And then my kids, when they both started playing, three times a week, I was at training with them, taking them to trainings. I was sitting and waiting for them to finish training. Every weekend, we were at matches, there were tournaments. So that now I'm living in a football world. And then because they love it so much, they are talking about it all the time. Their birthday parties were all football. We'd gather all their friends, divide them into teams, go to a ground and have a match. So that was the idea of a
Okay.
birthday party for them.
Wow.
So it was all about football. And even now with the World Cup going on, talking their conversations with their friends, watching the games, staying up late at night. So my life is sort of immersed in this football world, which is very different from what it was before they got interested.
Yeah.
So that was the reason, that drew me into this world of football. And the murky world, like you said, is when I got in, I realized how murky it was with age fraud and corruption and, match fixing, which is the main issue in the state
Yeah.
league. Age fraud was the main issue in the district cup, which is a very rampant problem in Indian football, unfortunately. And this one looks at age fraud also and other aspects of corruption, but then focuses mainly on the match fixing aspect, which is again a problem in youth football. Although people think, why would it be a part of youth football? Maybe people fix matches which are at high stakes, a lot of money involved. But the truth is that even lower level matches are fixed, and that is the focus area. And it all got started because of my children's interest in football, which is what drew me in.
Wow. So, yeah, I think this is like quite a thing because in every sport that you look at, whether it's cricket or now you're saying football or others, this match fixing thing, it's become quite an issue and I think very serious because somewhere the credibility, the trust, the belief, all that is going away. Because when you realize that what you are probably spending hours preparing to watching, and there's so much excitement around it,
Yeah.
and well, somebody has already decided the outcome.
Yes.
So that can be quite disheartening, right?
Yeah, it's disheartening and it completely destroys the sport. There are cheating happens like in many forms. So, for example, people take drugs to cheat, or people might, do other things to cheat. But that is done to win the game. So you cheat in order to win the game. So in cricket, there was this way of, they used to shine one side of the ball so
Yeah,
that it
yeah.
spins more and so on. There was a huge scandal, in the middle, the swing of the ball, etc., was tampered with. But all that is being done to win the game. So in match fixing, what happens is you are paying the players to play badly and lose the game because
Yes.
the other side, there's money riding on the other side winning the game and so on. So you're tampering not just with the sport, but with the philosophy of sport. That you don't even want, the player is not even trying to win. So that is completely disheartening, yeah, as you said, and it loses all credibility, and it kills the future of sport, of that sport. And football youth leagues have, there are in Goa, it has happened in Mizoram, it has happened in Delhi, it has happened in other places too, where investigations are going on and players have been paid, young players, 15, 16-year-old players being paid 20,000 rupees or whatever to allow a goal in. The goalie is paid or the defender is paid, and that's because there is not enough money being made in the game for them to, this is a better lucrative. And many of them, like we read the book, come from backgrounds where 20,000 is a lot of money to them, and they've come from conflict zones, they come from troubled homes, and they know that they can't perhaps make this money. They're not that talented, perhaps. Maybe they're good players, but not great players, so they may not have a chance to make it. And they think this is a good chance, to make money. So it's not the children or the young players. Of course, they're thinking of their immediate future and not the future of Indian football. But it's
Correct.
the administration and the people who are running the sport who really need to, take they should be taking the blame for this, because they are at the end, it's their responsibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. So tell me something. Now we are, of course, a women-centric, platform, so we have to talk about women. Now, as I understand, Indian football has its own quiet cast of women, coaches, administrators, mothers of young players. So tell me, did any of them find their way into this book?
Yeah, and players too. Indian women's football is doing much better than men's football. And if one were to look at the World Cup as the final destination, it's likely that our women's team is going to get to the Women's World Cup much earlier than our men's team will get to the Men's World Cup.
Hmm.
So our women's team is doing much better. The senior women's team and even there are other teams that at various levels, you under 21, under 17, and so on. So the women's team is doing well compared to the men's team. The rankings are also much higher than the men's teams. And women, of course, like you said, they are part of the sport in other capacities as well as mothers, as administrators, and now you have coaches as well. But the book in the state league and in the district cup, the focus is also on some of the female players and the special challenges that they face. In the district cup, when the children were younger, there is a girl called Kadambini who is one of the players in the team, and she's constantly being told, she shouldn't wear shorts because she's a girl, because now she's 12, 13 years old, and these kind of things get told to girls. Don't wear shorts, dhoop mein mat jao, kali pad jaogi. That kind of, very, very is a dominant narrative, especially with girls. And the other big challenge girls face is that, there are not enough girls playing. So you need, of course, it's a team sport, and unlike badminton and tennis and so on, this is a team sport. You need a team.
Yeah.
So girls are generally allowed to play with boys till a certain age, till under 12 and so on. But you still need a team of, if not, 11 players, 9v9 or 7v7. So you need seven aside. So you need 14
Yeah.
girls to play a seven aside game. And there are not enough girls playing sometimes in that area where the girl wants to play. And, otherwise you have to travel very far. So the challenge is even to forget infrastructure, not having age fraud, not having corruption, but just to find a team to play. That is a big challenge for girls. Apart from all the other challenges, like I said, don't play in the sun, don't wear shorts. And then men also treating the game as a men's sport, and women shouldn't find a place here. I've spoken to many women players while researching for the book, and they being told that your place is in the kitchen, why are you on the field, why are you doing this, laughing at girls to say they can't play. So many of these stories did come out when India won the cricket World Cup, the women's cricket World Cup. Many of these players
Mhm.
did say that sometimes they cut their hair, pretended they were boys, so that they wouldn't get teased when they play cricket. So lots of challenges that men also face a lot of challenges because our football ecosystem is really so corrupt and terrible. But women face all that and more. So because
And
of the gender. So that is also, many of these issues are addressed in the book as well.
so, as always, for women, it's always a double whammy, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me this story that you have, written for this book. Now, this you have set against the backdrop of the Manipur conflict. So, what made you weave the two together?
Right, so that's a great question. So, many of our footballers come from Manipur. Manipur is a state that produces not just footballers, but a lot of sportsmen and sportswomen. And when I spoke to a journalist based in Manipur who's made a movie on football, her movie is called Andro Dreams. It's a Manipuri movie.
Mm.
And it's about a women's football team in Manipur. And she was one of the people I spoke to while, researching for the book. And she said, almost every home in Manipur has somebody who's an athlete who's played at state level or national level or even international level. But almost every home, every neighbor, every friend I know has an athlete. So it's so seeped in their culture, playing for the state or playing for the country. And athletics is any sport, not just athletics, but football and other sports as well. Many, many players, Mary Kom, for example, is from
Yeah.
Manipur. So there are many others. So Manipur is a state which has athletics and sports in its, veins in the sense.
Hmm.
And the recent Manipur conflict that took place, the state of what happened and how it was handled. I thought, this is a good way because it is a football book and so many of our footballers come from Manipur.
Yeah.
And Manipur is in the state that it is in and the conflict that happened. I thought it was a good way to blend in that story because this is a young adults book and, young people don't get to generally read about things that are
Yeah.
current affairs and so on. They have other things that they're reading about. And a lot to some extent because of, the way the media in our country is today, you don't get to see or hear the news in a large, the truth of what is really happening and how people are suffering. So I thought getting in Manipur into this because it's a football story and Manipur is a sports-loving state, focusing on a life of one athlete or a player in Manipur as one of the people in the story, and seeing how your life as a footballer is not just about how good or talented I am and how
Mm.
what facilities I get and so on, but the other things that are going on in my life. If my house is burning, my family is
Yeah,
missing,
yeah.
how does the person perform on the field? So, an athlete's life is affected by so many things that are beyond their control. So, I just wanted to show that as well. And I thought this was a way to blend all that in.
Absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful thing you've done because you so rightly said the youth does not really get the time or the interest. They don't have the interest also to know
Yeah.
so much about the current affairs. Of course, I would not generalize, but on,
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Absolutely.
large. But the thing is that when you do something like this, you are blending two things together. So you get to know about what is happening there as well.
Correct. Correct.
So, talking about one form of media, which of course has taken the world by storm, which is the social media. So tell me, as we know, social media outrage can end careers overnight in stories like this. So,
Yes.
what did you want readers to understand about that power from the book?
Right. So social media is one, and the general regular media also. We have seen several examples in the last few years of how the media has sort of destroyed people's lives by going after them without basis, and just because there are so many 24-hour news channels and they have to fill their airspace with
Right.
news. There is so much misinformation. So, and even in respect of Manipur, many of the news reports that were circulated on media and on social media were then found to be fake. There were videos from Burma or from outside, or they were videos from many years ago, and then they were being circulated as something that happened in Manipur, that somebody pulled down the Indian flag and so on. And then later on, the police did issue an advisory that this is a fake video, but by then it's too late because that has gone into people's psyche, and people have got angered and acted based on that, and it's resulted in the killing of people and affected people's lives. So, and it is something that unfortunately, when we grew up, we didn't have this menace within our life.
Mhm.
Menace and blessing in a way. Social media has both sides. But children today are going to live in this world, growing up in this world, and they're going to live in this world where whatever they say, I also tell my son, all of us made mistakes as teenagers, or teenagers do foolish things, and that is part of being a teenager. But there was nobody holding a camera and filming everything that we were doing to
Right.
record it for posterity.
Correct.
Uh, but today's teenagers have that additional pressure. Maybe they're, outraging about something. Maybe they're angry. Maybe they're shouting. Whatever they're doing, somebody somewhere could be filming them, and then that's it. That foolish behavior or whatever they did, whatever they said in a burst of anger is going to be there, and then twisted and misused and circulated, and then you have to bear the consequences of that. So it is something that teenagers, I think, today should be aware of, that this is an additional burden that they have to live with, and not just what other teenagers over time have lived with, but this is something extra. And we tend to say, be flippant about it and say, people growing up today are spoiled and they're privileged, and they have so much and they still complain. But I think, don't realize that there's a burden that comes with it. You
Yes.
can't be yourself. You can't sometimes do things because you're constantly in the pressure of somebody's watching you, somebody's listening to you, and then recording it forever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
misusing it. So that burden is so real, and I wanted them to see it through a story and feel it intensely, as through the character, through the eyes of a teenager like them. So that's one of the reasons I thought I'll blend that in.
That's wonderful. Actually, that's wonderful because there's so many things that you've mentioned. First of all, teenagers don't realize that,
Ah,
they could be, and 9.5 times out of 10, they will be filmed, and, all this will
yes.
be there, for
Ah,
posterity, and the records will be there. And on top of that, yes, there are people maybe of our generation who feel that these are, the privileged lot. They
ah,
get so much and they're ungrateful, they're not hardworking. But just look at it from their point of view, how much pressure, how many things they have to face, which we didn't even know
we
about,
did. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so that I think is a wonderful thing that you've done. So tell me, coming to the young players, who are part of the book. So my question is, how did you make sure that the young players at the heart of the book stayed human and not just symbols of a broken system?
Yeah. So, one of the ways is, of course, like I said, both my children play football, and because of them, I know so many other children who play football. You know, their teams, their teammates, their friends, other teams that the teams that they play with, coaches. So I have a human face to many of these. They're not just characters that I'm creating, in my computer on while I'm writing or when I'm planning, but they're real people that I know. So I can sort of map, this characters based on this person I know, and I can see how he reacts or how she reacts and how he speaks or she speaks. So there is a human behind each of these characters, and because I've interacted with so many young footballers, I sort of already have that human element in my story. So it's not just completely fictional in that sense. There is a lot of, it relates to many real people I know and real people who've gone through these issues of fighting age fraud and fighting other things. So I think that helps when you are, like I said, my life is sort of immersed in football because of my children being so involved in it, and that taking from the inspiration from the people I meet makes it keeps it human in some way.
Yes, actually, that's so right.
Yeah.
Because again, it's in a way, kind of a personal experience that you're talking about.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
It does
Yeah.
become human. So, moving to young girls and moving away from the book, tell me, what do you hope young girls specifically take away from, watching you move between law, history writing, and now sports fiction?
Oh, well, I think there is, of course, an element of, that you can experiment with things. You don't need to, once I studied law and then I practiced law. I liked it, but then life took me in another direction, and I sort of tried to go there and it worked. So to be initially, you don't have confidence because you're not sure whether it'll work. You've studied something and you're going into another field. But I think the takeaway would be that there's no harm in experimenting. Of course, I should add that I had the buffer in the sense that I had financial stability to sort of experiment with this. Not everyone does, so it's advice that should be taken with that context. But it's something that you can consider if you really love to do something. There's no harm in trying. And initially, of course, one of the things is when you're writing, especially in this field, that you fund faces more rejection than acceptance. Most of the things that you pitch to publishers or you write and you ask for, I would like to write this book and so on. Most of the time, you're rejected. And the lesson there is really not giving up with those rejections and saying, despite that, I'm going to I'll soldier on, and learning from those rejections. Also examining critically why the publisher may not have wanted it, and it may not always be your fault. They may not want it because it doesn't fit into their publishing list and so on. But being open to the idea of critically examining your work, and also then not giving up if at the first rejection that you face, and say that this is not for me, and go back to what you're doing. Just keep on, and if you have faith in your work and your talent, I think trying something new and going with it and keeping the faith in yourself, I think that's important.
That's absolutely true. I think an open mindset is also something which you need, and that is how you get to experiment. And then,
Right.
of course, patience, persistence, resilience, all these things, like I think with most other things in life, you do need tons of it because
Correct.
you have got to be patient. I mean, like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. So
Right.
even over
Absolutely.
here, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
True.
So tell me, you have won two major prizes in the same year for this book. How wonderful is that? But did that change how you saw your own work?
So the prizes were for the District Cup, which is the
Yeah, yeah,
first part of this book, the
yeah.
sequel. This is the sequel. So yeah, that was great. It gave me a lot of confidence in. Like I said, I'm not a sports. I come from a sports background, and I didn't have much interest in sports till my sons took to football. So it was a completely new world to me. And as I was writing both the District Cup and then now the State League, there were points in the journey where I thought I should give up. Tell the publisher I can't do it, return the advance, and say this is not for me. It's not my cup of tea. But I didn't. I thought that given this commitment, I've taken this up. Let me try and finish it, and hopes to see where it goes. And so when the awards were, both these awards happened, and then the book was also received well. It did well. It came as a big surprise to me because this is not my area at all. History. I generally write on history. I have a legal background, like you said. So sports is completely out of the box for me. So yeah, that was very encouraging to see that you can step out of your comfort zone and still managed to get it right, after putting in the right effort. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I can write about things that I don't have a personal background, educational background in, or something that I don't, haven't studied or don't know as well as I would say history or say law. But it's a completely different thing. But put your heart into it, put your mind into it, get your research right, and it is possible to, create something that is worthwhile. So that was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you proved that if you experiment, you will be
Yeah.
successful, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So now writing for young readers about corruption and exploitation. Now, this takes care. Okay. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So, how do you hold on to the nuance without talking down to them? Because that I think is very important. If you
Yeah.
talk down to them,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole purpose gets defeated.
Absolutely.
How do
Correct.
you do it?
So, writing for young people, or any, not just young adults, but any book, even for young children who are younger middle graders or early readers, the important thing is in the story, the child or the character who's a young character must have agency. Once you do that, then it's not like an adult who's telling you what to do. It's not an adult who's solving all your problems. The child is doing it. The child is being given, is being put in the position of trouble where they see this world is messed up, like age fraud or whatever they're facing. They know somebody's lying about their age. They know that the cheats are getting away and they're winning this, with the cheating. And this child is in that position, and there's a dilemma. Should I also cheat, or should I, hold out, and should I do the right thing? And there is, of course, a consequence to it. I may lose. I may not get anywhere. So the child is in that position and then has the agency to make the decisions, not just the adults who are running the show. So once you put the child in that position of I will take the decision and I will drive the story forward, then the talking down, I think, will doesn't happen, because it's the child who's, and the reader is also a young reader who's experiencing the story through the shoes of this protagonist or through this character who is a child. So then they could relate to the feeling and the way that they're being told the story, because they see themselves in the story. So it's not like some adult who's telling you that this is how should be and this is how things should be done and so on. So that is taken away when your protagonist itself is a young person and you're giving the protagonist the agency to make the decision and solve the conflict that has arisen in the story. So that is the solution to prevent yourself from sounding like you're talking down to children.
That I think is very important because when you let them take ownership of something and you make them feel that it is you who are deciding, that
Correct.
element of agency,
Yeah.
that is, I think, the trick.
Yeah, even in parenting, that's, I
Yeah.
think, often, of course, not every decision can be left to the child, but often when you involve the child in the decision, and, it's not, you're talking down to them that I know better and I will decide for you, but get the child involved, and it can't be done every time, of course, but as far as possible, that it's a very good, way of parenting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Agree. So now moving towards your passion for trees. Now, Tree Talk, as I know, understand, began as a personal interest in trees.
Yes.
Tell me, does that same instinct for quiet, overlooked stories also show up in your writing? So, in a way, we are connecting your trees and your love
Yes.
for
Yes.
trees with your writing.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a nice connection. So yes, trees, there is a certain comfort you get in the solitude of trees. You think we see them, most people see them as sort of almost lifeless
Yeah.
creatures, because they don't move, they don't speak, they don't make sounds. But there is this beauty about them, the very subtle beauty about them that you experience once you start noticing them, you start observing them, like to spend time in their company. So yeah, there is a certain element of looking out for things that all normally miss the eye. I think most writers would, that's you need to capture something in a story that, and sometimes it's an ordinary story, but you capture a certain character's perspective, you capture something that has been missed, and that is would be a common thing, I guess, between noticing trees and wanting others to notice trees, and noticing these situations that one captures in a book like this about Indian football, because generally football books are about statistics, about
Yeah.
performance,
Yeah.
about competition, two teams fighting it out, battling it out. But these are the problems that are plaguing Indian football, and being to be told through a entertaining fictional story, I think, is not a very commonly seen trend. And I think that does come from looking for things that generally are not spoken about much. That would be a, yes, a
Absolutely.
common thing between the two. Yes.
It is actually. So, in a way, you're focusing attention on the things which normally people would tend to overlook.
Correct. Yes, that's a nice way of looking at it. Thank you.
All right. So tell me, when you build a story, So you think your legal training, the precision, the argument, the evidence, all those things that are like maybe part of your personality, they're quietly shaping how you build a story like this one?
Yes, again, I'm very happy you asked this question. So one of the things I get about my, in reviews on Google reviews or the Amazon reviews or even others who read the book and write to me on Instagram, many of them do say that, I love the book. I love the fact that your book was researched so well.
Hmm.
And I got this with for a number of my books, not just the District Cup, but, the 565 and Baramulla and several other books.
Yeah.
So I see that as a pattern that keeps repeating in the feedback I get, and that makes me very, very happy. And I think that does come from my legal training because when you're working as a lawyer, research is, although if you're seeing a movie, most of the time you're seeing them argue in court or, making
Yeah.
flashy arguments and so on. But more time, far more time is spent in researching the case and building your case and building your arguments. So research is a fundamental, very important aspect of legal practice. And I think that does spill over in my way of approaching research for my book as well because, and sometimes it is quite exacting because the research doesn't end. I it keeps going on and on. Of course, there's always something new to check, always something more to add, but you have to take a call and say, now I'm done with researching and now I need to start writing. But I enjoy the research process so much that sometimes, it is unnerving to keep going on and on, digging deeper and deeper. But that does ultimately help in writing the book because you've read so much and you've spoken to so many people and you've got so much material and it's all inside and it does reflect in how rich your book turns out to be because even in a small scene where you're describing something else, the description of the color of the wall of that place or the ground or whatever you're because you've read so much about these places, you
Right.
have the descriptions are very vivid, they're very real, and people can see that when they're reading. It's a rich description and it comes from that research. And I think the other thing about legal training is law is a very logical process. It follows a process of you can't, for example, say that I had a dream that I will become a footballer and so I decided to become a footballer. There is no such a supernatural element. You need to have look at it things very plainly, very coldly, very logically. And I think that also does reflect in my books ultimately because I don't have these supernatural elements in my stories. They're very real, hardcore, real life. This is how it is, and you have to face it, and you have to and deal with it. Sometimes sometimes you can't deal with it, but this is the real world. There's no supernatural force that is going to come and rescue you. And I think that also comes from my legal background, that it's very cold and logical in some sense.
So I think what I pick from your answer is that, sometimes we feel that, okay, I am doing A thing today, X thing today, and tomorrow I want to do Y, which is completely unrelated. So does this mean that my experience of being in X for a certain number of years was a waste? No.
Oh, not at all. No, no,
Right?
not at all. I think many women do face that, right?
Yes,
Especially
yes.
like in my case, also, it was after my children were born. Legal practice was difficult because it took me 1.5 hours to commute to court one way. So 3 hours on the road with a young child was a lot. And it also is very demanding because you have up late at night, you have meetings early in the morning. So it was just not something I could do with a young child or two children. So you switch. Many women do that for where, I know other friends also who've switched their careers. They train to be bankers or financial consultants, and now they're, either designers or they're doing something within the framework of what they can around their children's schedule so that they can be available to the child and so on. And many, many women do take that decision. And I think it totally whatever you trained in, whatever you experienced in your career before, always, I think, impacts, the way you handle finances, the way you look at you negotiate, something that you learned in your career will help you in. And it's not something that you can trace, like, match the following sort of thing,
Hmm.
but it will subtly definitely affect the way you have conducted yourself, the way you think, everything. I think it does have, like, the examples I gave for the legal thing of being
Yeah,
logical
yeah,
and the
yeah.
research, and whatever field other people are choosing also, there will be traces of how that earlier experience has benefited you. Everything you learn, I think, does benefit
Yes.
you in some way or
I
the other.
agree.
And if not a positive way, it's not, if not in a way to guide you on how to do something, it will guide you on how not to do something.
Yes, yes, yes,
One
yes.
way or the other, it will help you.
Correct, correct. So
Yeah,
nothing ever goes waste.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so finally, after a book this unflinching, what is the story you haven't yet found the courage or the form to tell?
Oh my God. I don't know about courage, but there are, stories, for example, history-based stories that I would like to write, but the enormity of the task sometimes, or, for example, writing about partition for young readers, uh, is something that is a big challenge. And to write it like the book I had written earlier, 565, which is very immersive, where you experience history more than just read about it as facts. That is something that I thought about. Another very similar, social conflict that took place in the 19th century, again, a historical issue. But it's not, so the challenge, it's a lot of time research involved, and seems like a daunting task, so it is something that I do consider and give up and think I can't do it, and then I consider again after some time. So that is something perhaps that would answer this question. But other than that, yeah, I think those are the two things that I uh, would have thought about and not given full confidence to whether I can try it or not. I'm in that stage, sort of thing.
Okay, so I'm sure you can. So just go ahead and try it. All the best to you.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Malika, I'm sure you're aware that while we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have one more round, which now we call the reveal, and which
Okay.
is fast kind of a thing, a rapid fire kind of a
Okay.
thing where you answer as quickly as you can.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Listen. All right. So the first one, a football club you secretly root for.
Secretly root for. Okay, I think Arsenal, because my son loves Arsenal. So I secretly root for it, not before any affinity for the club, so that my son stays in a good mood. I thought
All right.
that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. The next one, one word for the state league.
Gripping.
Okay, yeah, that's actually quite apt. The next one, a tree you wish more people knew about.
Or the laburnum. It's one of my favorite trees, the Indian laburnum called the amaltash.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful tree with lovely yellow flowers dangling like waterfalls coming down from the tree. And I wish more people knew about it. Yes.
and how beautifully you've described it as well. All right, the next one, lawyer brain or writer brain, which wins on a hard day?
I think lawyer brain.
Okay, all right. And finally, a place you'd want to write your next book from.
I just my the comfort of my home, my chair and table. I don't have any idealistic places of being in some beautiful mountain, and I just love being at my desk and chair and writing it with all the chaos around me of my kids screaming, and that's just how it is, and that's how I like it that way.
Wonderful. I think, that is again a real kind of a scenario, which is
Yes,
what
yes,
happens in most people's lives. So that's what you want.
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much. As I knew, as happened earlier, what a delightful conversation. And
Thank you.
you know your mind, you know what you have to say. So the answers come quick and it's and like the listener gets immersed into the answers. I mean, they are that absorbing. So great to have you back and all the best to you on all your future endeavors. And maybe we'll see you once again here. Right.
Yes, and thank you, Sangeeta. You make it easy to have this free-flowing conversation. It's just like a chat. It's not some formal sit down and a list of questions, and it's very easy to. And one question answer flows into the next, and it's really nice. So thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.